So what I thought I would do here today is to talk about this number one commodity or entity all of us deal with every single day. Whether you are employed or you run your own business, all of us have this single feature across all of our lives as a universal truth. We deal with this entity every day. Some of us think we deal with it better than our competitors. In fact, whatever it is that you're doing, how you deal with this entity will give you a sense of your proximity towards success. It's the single thing that all of us here learn about. We all know about it, and some of us think we're better at dealing with it than the rest. But it, and only it, is the ultimate truth of how it experiences you. This thing we call the customer. For whatever reason, when all of us start dealing with customers, we forget that we too are customers. Now, I've had, by God's incredible grace, and only by God's grace, the amazing privilege of working in 6 of the 7 continents that are on this earth of ours. The only one I have not spoken in is Antarctica. And so I've thought about whether or not I should gather a couple of penguins for me to go and address them in Antarctica, so that it would say in my resume, he's spoken in all 7 of the 7 continents. If you're not smiling, that was a joke. If the person sitting next to you is not laughing, write it down. We'll explain it to them at the end of this session. All of us, no matter what it is you do, deal with customers. Now, here is the interesting thing. One of the things I've learned over time is that typically the more technically trained people who operate in more technical functions of an organization tend to think that they don't have any customers. If you work in a large organizations, you typically will experience that the people working in finance don't see the rest of the business as customer. The people working in marketing don't see the rest of the business as customer. The people working in audit, risk, and compliance don't see rest of business as customer. All of us, every day, deal with customers. All of us. What is interesting to note, though, is that for whatever reason, we tend to separate ourselves from those customers. We see ourselves as different, as other. Dare I say, sometimes we see ourselves as better. Is that painful? We do. We do. I'm going to prove to you over the next hour 3 things, and you can write all 3 of these things down. At the end of the hour, you can keep me accountable and you can give me a scorecard on whether or not I have proven all 3 of these things. The first thing I'm going to prove to you is this. Service is a calling, not a job. Service is a calling. It's not a job. So when we talk about customer service, really what we're talking about is the calling to serve. Now, a lot of us, myself included, have a way of measuring customer service. You might run a survey, for instance, measure your Net Promoter Score, go online and have a look at your reviews by customers. What these are what we call lag indicators. They tell you what has already taken place. But truly building a customer-centric team, that requires a certain number of lead indicators. The most important of these is the second thing I'm going to prove to you. All customers are people. I know, that's a shocker. Wow, can you believe it? They're not a customer number on a database. Oh my goodness, can you believe it? They're not a figurehead on a PowerPoint presentation. All customers are people. Now, why is this important? Because all people have the same things in common. If I travel to Shenzhen in China and then made my way out to Kuala Lumpur, where I will be in a few months' time, here in Kampala, or if I travel to California in the United States, I will find that all people are common. They laugh, they cry, they pray, they hope. They bring children into the world hoping that it would be better for them than it was for their own lives. And yet, for whatever reason, when we start dealing with these people, we forget this. The third thing I will prove to you is perhaps the most difficult one. Every single person in this room is completely replaceable. Believe it or not, nowhere in the Bible does it say that on the 8th day God invented whatever company you work for. Believe it or not, no matter how large the organization you work for is, no matter how powerful your boss is, no matter how big your P&L is, no matter how large your market capitalization is, there was a time your business did not exist. Nowhere is it written that you have the divine right to exist. See, what happens in my experience is the following. Typically, first generation runners and founders of a business understand this. They remember a time when there was no customer. To grow and scale their business, they hire these people who are technically trained at managing processes. We call these people managers. Managers, for whatever reason, tend to forget that the role of a process is to make customer service more efficient, not replace service in the customer. And so what tends to happen is we focus more on the process than the customer. You ever been to an organization and they tell you about customer service department? Then when you get to the customer service department, they tell you what the process is. To which you should ask the question, is this customer service or process service? What are you here to serve? Me or the process? See, when it comes to dealing with customers, to the extent to which you make the process the end, you lose what the purpose of the process is, which is this. It is to standardize customer service and experience, not replace it. The rules are so that we know what the standard is. The rules are not so that we know what the outcome is. Before we even get started, the question I have for you is, what's more important? Process or customer experience? Even in the space where all of you here work, what is more important? Process or customer experience? Everybody says customer experience. Of course they do. Until it actually comes down to it. Until we've actually got to start making decisions. Until we're faced with doing what we are told to do and doing what we know is right. Usually when I have these kind of sessions, there are bankers in the room. Hands up if you work in a bank. Hands up, bankers. You have my deepest sympathies. Hands up, all of you. Bankers are fairly easy to spot. They're usually in a tie. Yeah, you see? There, I'm right. There. I'm absolutely right. Where are the bankers? Hands up again. Good. Where are the people that work in insurance companies? Insurance people? Insurance people are also fairly easy to spot. They have smiles on their faces, but they really don't like their jobs. Now, hands up any of you here who work in like fashion or retail, who deal with actual customers like every day. You're in food retail, fashion retail, or anything like this. Hands up. There should be about 2 or 3 of you in the room. You work in retail? Food. Excellent. Excellent. Each and every single one of these industries, I mention them because they have a specific set of dictates around how they do business. See, you have to have dictates around how you do business because the things you sell, people ingest. You get it wrong, you kill someone. The banks have to have rules around how they do business because if they get it wrong, they're dealing with people's money. The insurance companies definitely have to have rules because if they don't, they'll be out of business because all of us are not honest enough to only submit claims that are purely legitimate. So the rules are the safeguard against the downside risk. But notice something. Rules are never written to optimize the upside opportunity. If you want to optimize upside opportunity, that requires a different set of rules and a different set of thoughts.